Okay, so this is just a quick video as part of the professional certificate in game design for MIT. This one specifically is about utilizing verbs to influence and help in the design of game mechanics. So, as a little backstory to this assignment, effectively, we were asked to choose a fictional universe, think of characters and verbs that describe those characters that could then be maybe turned into game mechanics. So the world I chose to look at for this, in part because I recently watched a second film, is Beetlejuice. For those that don't know, it's a classic Tim Burton film, kind of a horror comedy. Highly recommend it. I think they're brilliant. Second one does hold up as well. So this is just a short slideshow here to demonstrate the kind of verbs, the verbs from the characters that I looked at, and how that might translate into a game. So if we start out, we can have a look here. So the three characters I looked at for this was the titular Beetlejuice, Lydia Dietz, and Delia Dietz. I then listed out kind of 10 verbs for each. It kind of helps describe them. Looked at kind of the commonalities between them and kind of picked 6 of those that I kind of felt really stood out that could be useful more so than others in designing game mechanics. And so those ones are drama, dark, hostile, afraid, loving, and brave. And I'll go into a bit more detail about how I would see each of these influencing the game in the next few. So the first one I'm going to look at is drama. Now, as you can see, like from the image on the screen as well, drama is everywhere in these films. Everything is just ramped up. You know, the world's contorted. The living beings, I say living because they're all dead, but the beings in the afterlife are all twisted and malformed and represent basically how they died, but can manifest in weird ways. And kind of that drama is present all throughout the films in characters' actions. And for me, that's kind of a key thing in the films, and therefore it should be a key thing in the game. What that spoke to me as is setting, really. So the obvious thing would be to set the game in the afterlife, where a lot of the films take place, and I think that's kind of the perfect place for kind of a very interesting game to kind of jump in and lead to a lot of interesting environments and situations. Darkness. Now, obviously, they're comedy films, but they're also horrors, and they're supposed to be a bit scary and a bit dark. And kind of the character Lydia emphasizes that. And for me, that kind of comes across as maybe that's the character we should play in the game. You know, she's very important in both films as the lead character, although she's not the title character in the second film. It makes sense that she would be the playable character. Now, how might we best represent the dark in terms of game and mechanics? Well, for me, as a kind of linking from the drama, we can emphasize the darkness of Lydia. She dresses very gothically, very black clothing. And so we can use this and kind of emphasize that. And the idea of darkness and shadows comes across as hiding and stealth. So maybe that's the kind of genre we push the game in. Maybe I've written here, yes, so maybe she could have kind of abilities that will help shroud her in the darkness that she kind of exudes throughout the films to maybe help hide from the other beings in the afterlife. Hostile then. So the titular Beetlejuice is an extremely hostile presence, and especially in the first film, you know, as you see in the image, he traps onto some horrific snake-like being to attack the Dietz when they move into the house, and we kind of see this hostility emerge in how he treats other people, certainly in the second film. So that kind of led me down, well, what kind of game would this be? Maybe it'd be kind of a cat and mouse type game, similar to Alien Isolation, if you ever played that. The kind of idea that we can use Lydia and the shadows around her to shroud her and hide her from Beetlejuice, that's kind of an unstoppable adversary in the afterlife hunting her down. So then afraid. So obviously being a bit of a horror, fear is a key theme in these films. We're constantly seeing, the characters frightened, afraid, scared of situations they find themselves in. That's a feeling we'd want to get across in the game, and that led me down because I'm always interested in stepping back from just the typical health, stamina, mana pools. So maybe instead of health in this game, the things hunting Lydia, they're not trying to kill her, they're trying to capture her. And in this scary world she finds herself in, maybe instead of a health bar, we have a fear meter. And if that gets too high, maybe she has lost control and Beetlejuice then captures her. And that's when we would fail a level, we'll have to restart and so on. Next one, loving. So there's a lot of themes of love throughout the film. I think certainly in the first one, the Maitlands emphasize this, and in the second film, that comes across from Lydia to her daughter. Sorry if I'm trying not to spoil the second film for anyone who haven't seen it, but so that's kind of a key kind of sub-theme throughout these films that drives through. And that, how might we get that across in the game? Now, for me, that seems like the perfect plot hook. Similar to the second film, we can have Lydia heading into the afterlife. Like, why would she be there? Maybe she's heading in there to save her daughter. We want that loving theme to push through as well, and that can come through in the goal of the game. And then finally, brave. Now, I put this in because I feel it's important, because a lot of characters throughout the films show bravery, overcoming obstacles, adversaries, and situations that they find themselves in. And that is the overall emotion that I feel that we would want as designers, the player, to experience. We want the player to feel brave for overcoming these obstacles, much like the characters in the films do. So I think the best way to put this, but essentially that's the key thing we want our players to experience by the end of the game. That sense of accomplishment and bravery for overcoming that and finishing the game. So that's kind of my brief slideshow, looking at a hypothetical Beetlejuice themed game. Thank you.